everybody. They are on the way to one of the classes. Oh gosh.
Are you all actors?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you?
Us too.
I think
So, my thinking about bringing these folks here is obviously to have you all who are actors in training or singers in training to have some face time with some people who are working actors who are making some kind of living, doing the work, and who have obviously a lot of experience in at least a musical, this one, Billy Elliot. And so I really want to frame our conversation around the work. So let me introduce everyone. This is Tommy Batchelor. Tommy plays Billy. He's one of 4 Billys that share the role. Each Billy does 2 shows a week of 8. This is Jim Morley. Jim plays George, the boxing instructor, but also does a lot of other stuff. Ann Tulpigan is, she plays Dead Mom. How's that for a character name? Dead Mom. The Dead Mom. Yeah. But of course has like Jim, has a singing role in chorus and ensemble numbers as well. And then that's Patrick Mulvey, and he plays Tony, Billy's older brother. First I want to, Tommy, would you tell these guys what Billy Camp is?
They teach them a lot of the parts of the show, a bunch of different dance numbers, all the songs. And it's almost like rehearsals, but it's like training them. So when they're old enough to do it, they'll audition again, and then they'll see, like, are they good enough?
Mm-hmm. Do you think a lot of that is about stamina as well?
Yeah, like seeing if they'll be able to do the show over and over again for a long time.
Yeah, and then what happens, who decides it's time to audition? Do they pluck you out of Billy Camp and say, okay, come audition?
Yeah, pretty much. They, there's, I think some of them, like some of the directors come in every once in a while and they look and see if they see someone, and if they see someone that they think might be able to do it now.
It's like an incubator.
Yeah.
There's baby chicks floating around. And what happens if somebody auditions and they're not? Do they go back to Billy Camp, back to the incubator, or do people
sometimes
leave?
It depends on what they think. If they're, sometimes they are in Billy Camp for so long that they get too big for the part, and their voice will change, and then they have to go home. So they've been doing it for nothing, sort of.
Do you get paid for going to Billy Camp?
No. I don't think so.
Do you get anything?
You get training, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you get
terrific
training.
You don't pay for it?
No. But we don't get paid for it either.
Right. Right. Because a lot of you, I imagine, have a certain degree of dance training, but not necessarily to the level that the character Billy needs to have by the end of the show, or maybe you don't have the tap or the singing. Is that right? So you're doing more than just ballet, aren't you?
Yeah, it's like everything that the show has.
And were you doing any dialect work at that point as well?
I actually never was in the Billy Camp.
Oh.
I had a really weird audition because I auditioned for the original set of Billys. They already had the first 3, and they needed a 4th one. And I went into the audition. I was seen at a competition, so I just went in and...
In Florida?
No, it was in New York. They called me in. I auditioned. There were like 8 boys, and we were there for like 5 hours. We did ballet, tap. They asked us to do some like hip-hop, and there was one point where they tried to see if we could do the dialect. So we just sat down and we learned some of the songs with the dialect. And then afterwards they called me back. I went to the callback. It was the same thing, just learning the songs and stuff. And then afterwards they just said, you're going to London. And I had a week to go back to Florida, pack up my stuff, and go to London to start rehearsals.
Crazy. Can you tell everyone what your week is like? Because it's a little different from the other folks.
We only have 2 shows a week, because there's 4 Billys and we each rotate during the week. Every day we have tutoring at like 9 in the morning, and then we have rehearsals almost the whole rest of the day. We have ballet classes, we have acrobatics training, we have dialect coaching. Every once in a while.
And notes?
Yeah, we have,
with all of us, right?
like after every show, at least like once or twice a week, we have notes where they just tell us what we did wrong in the show or what we can improve on.
We're making it better.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
And then sometimes we have all that stuff in the morning, and then we have a show at night. Or sometimes we have a show in the morning, and then we have rehearsals at night. And we have one day off during the week, which is Monday.
Right. And you also do a lot of PR and stuff, don't you? I mean, you have to go out on all those junkets. I don't know how many of the other folks do.
I've had to really learn from the people that I work with. Emily Skinner, who has done a lot of Broadway shows. I remember the first time she went through, when we were rehearsing, she was marking it.
We're tour 1 right now. I auditioned for tour 2 in March and April of this year. And I went in, and I went in for Dead Mom. And Dead Mom, that same track, understudies Mrs. Wilkinson. So I had to do Dead Mom 2 scenes, Dead Mom's song, and then Mrs. Wilkinson 3 scenes and her one of her big songs. And then I had to do 2 tap numbers, a ballet number, 3 tap numbers and a ballet number. So the audition process was basically 6 weeks, and I didn't realize that there actually was like a Billy Elliot University. We were joking that that's what we were enrolled in by doing these auditions. Because you would just go, I went, and there were a group of us who went to the dance call, like maybe 35 of us, and each week, you know, those of us who were kept coming back, and the group just kept getting smaller and smaller. But it was like just throw up time. I'm an actor-singer who moves well, so for me going to that kind of a dance call experience was pretty intense. And when we had finished learning our 3rd tap number, they had like all the creatives in front of us in a table, and they said, okay, we're gonna have you guys do your tap stuff solo. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, what? And so we had to do it by ourselves in front of people, which just turned out to be sort of a joke. But I did a whole 6-week process and then didn't get cast in the 2nd tour. Went out to California for a little bit and got a call from my agent out there saying they want you to come back for tour 1 because of things unbeknownst to me that were happening obviously in the company here. They needed to have a dead mom for a while here. So I went back and same thing. I thought, well, surely they don't need to see me again since they just saw me for 2 months. But I went in again and went in 2 different days actually and sang and read and danced all over again. And the really incredible thing about the process was that in spite of feeling a lot of sort of stress involved with wanting to get the part, wanting to be a part of the production, the team was so generous with their time and with their spirit and with helping you feel comfortable learning what you needed to do your best, which isn't always the case. So that was kind of wonderful. And so this was just in July, I guess, late July, early August. I went back in and did 2 days for the team there. And then they were like, they called me on a Tuesday, and I've been working at an investment bank, like as an executive assistant, which is a great second job, by the way. So I was doing that, and my agent called. Actually, he sent me an email. He said, Dead Mom has risen, and I was like, what? So I called him up, and he said, yeah, they want you to go out. And this was on a Tuesday, and I said, okay, when do they need me to be in Chicago? And he said, Friday.
It was actually the first musical I'd ever been seen for. So when they saw me, they said, well, we'll see him again. And we'll see him again, we'll see him again, we'll see him again. And they saw me about 5 times in Chicago. And I thought I can't imagine they'd have to see me again. But they said, hey, you know what? I said, well, we're going to see you again. I said, oh, of course. They flew me out to New York for, I think it was my 6th audition at the time. And I think they told me later, they said, you had it after your 2nd one in Chicago, but you have never done 8 shows a week for more than 4 months. I had never done 8 shows in a week, little less, for a whole year. So they
were concerned
said,
about
we're
that?
really excited about your talent. We just want to make sure that you can do 8 shows a week. And I said, I promise you that I can. And the vocal coach, David Chase, in New York, who is just wonderful to work with, said, I'm not sure that you can. And I said, well, I hope you'll take that chance. And they did. And I have had some adjusting time, but I trained over in Scotland for 3 years, and I really, really felt like I understood my tool well, but not until I did a part that screams every time he's on stage at the top of his lungs, and then you have to do that 4 times a show for 8 times a week. So it was Me and Tanner have had many an hour working on it, but I've gone off the subject of auditions.
2.5 years to keep this fresh for you.
After a while, it's really hard to keep it new and exciting every night.
Sure.
And like you were saying, like not just toning out and thinking, what are my lines? I always have to remember what helps me is trying to think of new intentions every night for every single line, instead of just like thinking of what it usually sounds like and just saying the tone, like actually thinking, what am I feeling? What would Billy be feeling in this part?
Great. Good.
Good.
Let's open it up to you all. If you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll point at you and ask it. Anybody? Yes, Brandon.
Ooh, okay. Question. How has technique, how has it aided you as an actor, and how do you maintain the sensitivity as an artist and an actor while balancing with your technique?
Yes.
Is that to you?
No, I think it's to anybody.
I can actually have a very short story. We did Shakespeare's in my second year of training. We did Comedy of Errors. I was one of the antitheses. I screamed my head off. And in drama school, you got a score from the voice department and a score from the acting department and the movement department. The movement department gave me an 86, which is an A. The acting department gave me an A, and the voice department failed me. But they gave me 56. And I went, well, what was my overall grade? Well, you passed. So acting, I got an A. Yes, fuck off. Athlete, having to do with
Actually,
it.
100% right.
And that has kind of kept me going artistically as well, because it's my acting is being used, which feels great. You know, to have that emotional and artistic outlet, because I love my character. It's got a great arc. It's really the arc of the minors for me. But to have my tools start to grow in it as well has been just really, really exciting.
Well, it sounds like you're saying they sort of come together for you. In other words, it's not a dialectic for you.
Yeah, well, is there anything more dangerous than someone who's like, yeah, I've got the acting and now, and I could do it every time. You know, it's a really fun thing to thrive to be. And I'm still trying, you know what I mean? I'm learning every day, and that's what's exciting about it.
It's like that because, you know, family and kids.
I leave them behind. My dad and my brother actually, I haven't seen them. I saw them this summer, but like that's the only time they can come up. So
His mom is with him here.
So my dad and my brother are in Florida, so I haven't seen them very much since I've been in the show. And like having a sense of like being at home, like I've just been here the whole time.
Yeah. And who are your friends?
Which is intriguing and exciting for them. My wife doesn't like it. But
And I was here before this gig, so this has been like a dream job for me. All my family's got to see my work, because they haven't seen since I went away to school at 18. And it's been brilliant. But I mean, 8 shows a week is obviously, I mean, this is my life. But again, I'm all for it. I love the work. I love showing up every day. I'm never not excited to do it.
But when we go to Toronto, you will be.
Yeah,
away
and, you know,
from-
your cast becomes your family. I see these guys. I mean, Tommy, I'm so sad to see Tommy go in 2 weeks, I swear. I mean, every time I see him, I give him a hug and a kiss. And
Usually by opening night, I'm done as a voice and speech or dialect coach, usually. So it's unusual for me to be on the inside as a non-actor in the process. And there's a real, we're family and we enjoy each other's company and well, you all spend a lot more time together than I do with you. But in addition to that, there's also a real strong sense of there's something important that's happening here, and I think everyone, tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, but I get the sense that everyone is very intimately involved in telling the story, really committed to the story and to keeping that story.
Arrogance when the kid's 20 times better than you. And they said the very first thing they said was, this show was about these 4 kids. And you go, yeah. And then you see what you do, and I've seen Tommy perform maybe 60 times do Billy, or 40 times do Billy Elliot, and every time my jaw drops, because you're watching something special. No matter what you tell your friends to expect when they come and see these kids, they're watching a prodigy. They're watching something that is born and then nourished and catered in the right way. So
And that's
there's
inspiring
no
for everyone
place
else.
for
It is, it's
this
completely